strategy I want to see.
So such assurances can actually spur them into big farming.
You will be amazed, which was one of the plans I have for Ebonyi State, for instance. Let me just mention that. Every farmer in Ebonyi State will be guaranteed markets. And then the government will now begin to organize the other people that will not just sell the raw produce, but to take it through, increase the value chain of these products, and then begin exportation of these products. Now, the national exportation and international exportation. So that you take rice, for instance, which Ebonyi State is known for. You increase the value chain of rice. You use it to generate your own power. You also use it for other ways of, byproducts for consumption. It will be well packaged. And the rice produce, if you encourage the farmers, that's why those boys are still running around on the streets. Because they're mainly farmers.
That's going to be a detailed plan. Yeah. Because it will include some policy formation and implementation.
Exactly. So the policy, what I want to see is a holistic thing. And you find that even if agriculture is doing well, what about other sectors, the other agencies, other ministries? They need to synchronize everything so that we know a national strategy. This is where we are headed. And we're supporting Ministry of Agriculture. Whatever finance is doing is towards that strategic objective to focus on agriculture, so that there will be some kind of synchronicity within the ministries, within the agencies. You find that one ministry is doing that, government is okay, let's promote agriculture. If you go to CBN, for instance, interest rate is still too high to encourage agriculture. If you go to a Ministry of Water Resources, different policies, everybody is protecting their turf. So there is
Why is that so? Because also yesterday, I'll go back to Nweze. She told the nation that the World Bank has decided to give the nation some certain amount for housing scheme, and it was to run for a 40-year period under a zero interest. Now, so why can't we replicate such gesture for the farmer you just talked about and say, come take these and, no interest. But if you still go in borrowing and at the end of the day you have that huge amount of the interest, I think, it negates the whole essence of development in that particular sector.
That's right. World Bank giving interest-free loan. But again, they tell the farmer, come and pick up this, or any mortgage child, come and take up this. But there are other parts of the economy which the government intervenes. What about the tax? That's how government get involved in business, intervene in business. Tax. Okay, if you have a high tax rate, if you cross from one local government to the other, especially in Lagos, at a point I just feel that, look, it's not easy for a poor man or businesses to survive in Lagos these days, the way they're going about tax and all that. Everywhere, tax levies and all that. So how can business survive? So these are the ways, it's like a great gift. You give with your right hand, you collect more from with your left hand. So it's not everything must be synchronized, so that the policy, formulation and implementation will be geared towards, that strategic goal of the government of increasing the value chain of agriculture, so that we can stop all these, because if we keep doing what we're doing, there was a study done by some American professors some years ago, and they found out that between 1850 and 1950, that the world economy increased by 0.8%. And when the world economy turned around to 1.9% between that 1950 and 2000. Now, between 1850 and 1950, Africa's economy was about 40% below the world average. Now, between 1950 and 2000, the same African economy was also doing 60% below world average. Why is that? It dropped by 20%. Why is that? The reason is that now, education. African workforce is filled with semi-skilled, to unskilled individuals. And if you check the products, they have problem. They can't export finished products because of this. and they're not highly skilled. Okay, and you find the finishing they cannot compete in international market. Why don't we begin to focus on some of these things, having skilled in the education system, so that our people will be more skilled, because this has a way of impacting on the economy generally. Because if we intend to, otherwise we keep on exporting our produce, agricultural produce, but we must increase the value chain and begin to export finished products.
Let me take you back to the tax, which you talked about, but this time at the national level. Yeah. This year we'll have a budget of, I think, 4.987 trillion naira, which was, this of course is higher than what we had in 2012. Mm-hmm. But in 2012, FIRS, from the figures they published, they generated 5 trillion naira.
Yeah. Tax.
And we know that people don't pay as much as they're supposed to.
Yes.
Because if they were to, it would be a different matter entirely. Yeah. So, 5 trillion naira, which is even higher than this year's budget.
Yeah, it's enough. No, but let's face it. Going by what Thomas Friedman said about oil-producing nations, especially Nigeria, he particularly mentioned Nigeria, that any oil producer like Nigeria, the government, the leadership, they are more interested. Once they take over power, the first thing they grab is oil. Now, they don't bother you with taxes. They don't bother the citizens with taxes. As long as you don't ask them what they do with the oil money, they can lie you whether you pay tax or not. But the day you begin to ask, what do you do with our oil money, then they will remember, say, we have to collect tax from you. And that's why FIRS is beginning to generate that kind of money. Because Nigerians are beginning to ask the government, the leaders, what do you do or what have you done with the oil money? Yeah, but the government is saying, look, we need to collect tax from you.
But even that figure that they are generating, what's being done with it? That's the question.
That's the question. The point is that if the tax people generated about 5 trillion, it's enough. We don't even to have a deficit budget in the first place.
That brings a lot of questions.
It balances out.
This funds the budget.
Yeah. But again, even if you're borrowing, you don't want to use some of your resources and all that. You can push part of that money to an investment vehicle that will give you, a higher yield. Like all this sovereign wealth we're talking about. Push more money there, invest, and then make some more returns.
And because we haven't even talked about the leakages in the system.
Yeah.
Because time and again we hear about this unspent budgetary funds. Who retires it? Where does it go to? And so lots of funds.
There's so much wastage. There's so much wasted in the system. And again, the kind of system we run, the government system we run, is too expensive for the economy. It's too expensive. And, I wonder how long we're going to hang on this kind of listen. There's too much waste.
Dr. Iwala Okonjo-Iweala yesterday was saying something about the efforts made to cut down the cost of governance. How would you rate them in that area?
Well, I'm yet to see that.
I think she talked about the budget. I'm trying to see what was said at that time. I think they said they reduced the recurrent expenditure from, is it 60?
Just 2%.
7 to 8.
2% from maybe 2% or 4%. From the previous year was about 72%. Now it's 68%.
Well, compared to other administrations.
Well, other administrations, that's the other administrations, you find that there's an improvement of about 4%, and we continue to do that. And look at the states, for instance.
4% to 68.
Yes. Look at the states. Akwa Ibom State, for instance, claimed to do, I think, 60-40 or higher capital than
recurrent expenditure.
Yes, but that's on paper. That enough should be able to develop the state, every part of the state. Okay. So if Lagos State, for instance, Lagos State has tried to do 60-40, okay, and we need to see more in Lagos State.
Yeah, but these two states you talked about, people have said it, that we've seen the infrastructure development in some of these states, and so can we actually say that, look, this is purely on paper? Because we've seen a lot going on in these two states.
Yes, I have been to Uyo, for instance, and Uyo is picking up, and the question is, I ask. Good library to do, but the challenge is how do you draw people into the library? You build this infrastructure, for instance, in the major state and few other suburbs or villages and all that to develop. They should begin to do what I call a factor endowment development strategy. whereby to develop, for instance, what is the factor endowment in New York, for instance? Build industry, attract industries. Give people, you have infrastructure.